Okay, it's not about better stuff, it's about using your stuff better. The statement that movement is overrated is obviously kind of an over-exaggeration. It depends totally on whether you understand the movement or not. Let's take a look at movement in one case where it is really helping somebody like Jake Peavy. He throws this pitch and out of the hand, this pitch is heading to the outside black. In other words, that's an outside fastball. But now it starts to move in towards the hitter dramatically. And you see one of the premier home run hitters of our time drawing his hands into his chest, left arm is bent, trying to get the barrel to move closer to his body because he realizes that he's late. So this is a case where 89 miles an hour blows up Jose Bautista, who arguably is one of the best up and in fastball hitters of our time. But this one blows him up, and it blows him up because of movement. This is an outside fastball for all intents and purposes. And at 89 miles an hour, an outside fastball equals about 86, 87 miles an hour. So when it ends up turning into 94 EV miles an hour, it makes a guy like Jose Bautista late. Okay, now let's look at another pitch where movement is minimal. This is another premier home run hitter of our time, and arguably one of the hottest over the last couple of seasons. And he's missing an 86 mile an hour, what I think is supposed to be a cutter, at 86. But when we look at this, it's heading out and it's staying out. It started on the outside black and it stayed on the outside black. We might be able to argue about that it moved an inch or half an inch or whatever. Or it sunk. It had great sink to it, and that's why he missed it off the end of the bat. He missed it off the end of the bat because of one fact and one fact only. It did not do what another fastball that he'd seen did do. In other words, let's take that back and look at this Bautista fastball, and let's look at this fastball or cutter, depending on what you want to call it. They're going to start off in the same basic tunnel, only now, and this is way beyond halfway to the plate. If you look at the clock in the upper right hand corner, we're at 0.283 seconds. This is the time when hitters have to start their swing. And now the ball moves in on the hands and the other one does not. It just stays on its line. So this is a case of movement, of lack of movement actually, being the most deceptive thing that there is. The lack of movement is why Encarnacion misses this ball off the end of his bat. He's not even close to being on that pitch. And the reason is not because of movement, it's because of lack of movement. Had that ball moved like his typical pitch moves, he doesn't miss that. There's no chance that he misses that. This movement that you're seeing is basically gravity. Yeah, there might be a little sink action to it, but it's not that. This is not one of his more premier sinkers, and it's certainly not one of his premier hard slider or cutter. All it's doing is staying straight. In today's game, if you throw a ball straight, it's put into the category of a cutter. But it's because it starts on a line and it stays on that line. Normally, though, his fastball sinker moves this much. So in the hitter's mind, the deception is the fact that that ball did not move where it was supposed to. So staying straight is extremely deceptive. If you ask Encarnacion, though, he would say that thing moved a foot. Didn't move a foot, it just didn't move a foot. In other words, instead of it moving back where it was supposed to, it stayed on the original line. That's not movement doing anything. That's movement fooling as a result of non-movement. I know that sounds a little hard to follow, but it's not the movement that is always the greatest factor. In this case, this is definitely one where non-movement has a huge effect.